All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the Peak Financial Planning YouTube channel. Today we're doing a video on whether you should take a pension lump sum payout or take monthly income payments from the pension. So if you have a pension through your employer, you will be faced with a decision fork once you come to the point where you retire. For most of us, that will be, do I take the lump sum offer that they give me, or do I opt in for one of the 3 or 4 monthly income choices that they'll give me? This is a complicated question to answer, requires doing some math, but the thing to understand, and the reason I'm making this video, is it's a permanent decision. Whichever fork you take there, it's permanent and affects the rest of your financial future, so it should be done with care, should be considered carefully, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. So, my name's Eric. I'm the owner and head financial planner at Peak Financial Planning. We are fee-only fiduciary financial planners in Southern California. We work with clients all over the country. We work specifically with clients that are in the retirement risk zone, which is the 10 years immediately prior to retirement and the first 5 years in retirement, so that we can help you make good decisions along this range of permanent financial decisions you'll have to make over that 15-year period. One of those is including pension payout options. How do you make that decision? So without further ado, let's jump in. So we're going to cover 3 things in this video. We're going to talk about what are the actual pension payout options from an income perspective. So if you opt for the monthly pension income, what are your different options and how do you understand those? The second is, what is a lump sum buyout and who might be a candidate for that? And then the third is, how do you do the math to evaluate whether it's right for you to take the lump sum buyout or take the monthly pension income? Because again, these are permanent decisions. They will affect your full financial picture for the rest of your life. So going in with a really comprehensive understanding will be really important. So I have this guide up on the screen. This is on my blog for the Peak Financial Planning website. You can find this entire videos in longer form on this written guide here. But I'm just going to highlight a few of the pertinent points here by scrolling you through some of them. So the first thing to talk about are, what are the different monthly pension income options? Really, you're going to have 3 different categories within that monthly pension income option. The most common is what's called a joint and survivor benefit. So if you're married and you have a spouse, you and your spouse will get some kind of pension benefit that pays you monthly income for the duration of both of your lives. You can opt out of the second spouse getting that monthly benefit. We'll talk about that in a second, but it does require notarized documents and the second spouse or the surviving spouse to acknowledge that they'd be giving up their rights. Now, a joint survivor benefit will pay monthly income for the rest of both spouses' lives, but the thing to understand here is that it's a trade. You will receive a lower monthly income benefit for the primary spouse in exchange for ensuring the second spouse's life. The single life annuity, which is the simplest, is if you're an individual, you're not married, or if you are married and your spouse acknowledges and gives up their right to your spousal benefit, you can opt for a single life annuity, which only insures the primary pension holder from the day they retire till the day they die. And that income amount will be the highest of all the different income options. Okay, that you just understand, that will be the highest of the guaranteed monthly income options. The third option here is what's called a period certain. Period certain is similar to a joint and survivor benefit, but it just guarantees a period of time rather than a person. So you would get pension payouts guaranteed for, let's say you chose a 10-year period certain. You would get pension payouts for 10 years guaranteed at a certain dollar amount. If the primary pension holder were to pass early, that's what this period certain solves for. So let's say you start your pension and then 3 years later the primary pension holder dies. Well, the surviving spouse or the beneficiary would receive 7 more years, the difference between the 10 years and the 3 years of guaranteed income payments. Now, if the primary pension holder lives on, they continue to get pension payments for their whole life, but the period certain solves for the case where the primary pension holder were to pass away early. So those are your 3 most common monthly income options. There are nuances within each of those, and you should evaluate them, but we just need a basic understanding of those. So what is a lump sum option? Well, the pension business is expensive, so most employers don't really want to be in the pension business anymore. And so they will oftentimes offer you, the employee, a lump sum buyout of your pension plan. So you might get this, they will give you a worksheet that shows, here are the different income stream options. But if you were to let them off the hook, so to speak, they would pay you a lump sum buyout of some flat amount of money one time that would leave them off the hook, so they're not responsible for your income. You'd get all the money in the full dollar amount, and then you'd have to invest it yourself to construct your own retirement income from that money. That's called a lump sum buyout. Each talk about the two different ways you evaluate. One of the ways you evaluate this decision fork is the numbers. You just want to look from a pure financials perspective, which one is better for you as the pension holder in terms of the total dollar amount you will obtain as a result of the decision. And then the second is, what are the qualitative factors? How things affect like your health, your life, those types of things that are not related to numbers, but also are an important factor in evaluating this decision. So let's say you're presented with a pension offer that shows monthly income of $2,083 per month, which is the equivalent of $25,000 per year. And you were presented with a lump sum buyout option of $500,000. Okay. So the first question you want to answer from this perspective is, how long does it take the monthly income to pay me back the principal amount? Because remember, when you opt in for a permanent monthly income option, you give up all access to the principal. You can never access any of the underlying money. So if you have emergencies, if you need money to buy a new house or to pay for a kid's wedding or whatever it is that comes up in your life, you cannot access the larger pool of pension money. All you get is that $2,083 per month. So the question is, how long does it take you to pay this back? Well, $25,000 into $500,000 tells us that it takes 20 years to pay back the lump sum buyout option if you were to opt for the monthly income. It's quite a long time. It's a pretty steep trade-off. The second question to answer is, what's the rate of return that you're getting for this $25,000 of income per month? Well, the rate of return is basically 25,000 into 500,000, and that gives you a rate of return of 5%. Okay, it's a fairly conservative rate of return, and this video is not investment advice, and I'm not telling anyone what they should do with their pension because I don't know enough about you, but 5% is a fairly modest rate of return, especially if you're giving up access to the principal. So you're getting a 5% income payment, but you have no access to principal. So the question you'd ask yourself here is, do I feel comfortable constructing my own portfolio that could produce at least 5%? Because if you can produce at least 5% while you also have access to the principal, you're better off. So can you produce at least 5%? And some people might say yes, and some people might say no. That really is a matter of psychology. The other option is, could I defer this to an investment advisor? Can I delegate it? And would I feel comfortable? Do I have a trusted relationship with someone who could actually produce me in excess of 5%? And when you delegate it to a professional, you have to get a rate of return that's in excess because you have to pay fees, right? So you'd actually need, let's say if the average investment advisor charged 1%, you would actually need a rate of return that's something like 6% if you were to delegate this to an investment advisor. And the question is, can you do it? And if you can, or if you think you can, then it might make sense because, again, you gain access to the principal. The third thing you want to consider here is inflation. So most pension plans are not inflation protected. The income does not have a cost of living adjustment for most pension plans. Now, there are some exceptions. Those are usually in the form of government pensions or municipal pensions. But if you're working for a private employer, it's highly unlikely you will have some kind of a cost of living adjustment. Well, let's say inflation was 2%. Well, over 15 years, you'd lose something like half the purchasing power, a little less than half of the purchasing power of that original monthly income. So if you had $25,000 of purchasing power in year one, well, 15 years later, you might have something like $15,000 of purchasing power. Yet for monthly income, you have no influence over inflation protecting it because you have no access to the underlying funds. You cannot choose how it's invested. You can't do anything to affect that. You just get what you get. You get the same dollar amount, $25,000 a year. It just loses its value over time. So the question is, do you think that by taking a lump sum, you could actually inflation protect it yourself? That would just mean, could I get a slightly higher rate of return that would account for inflation? I don't know. That depends on what your skill set is, or if you have an investment advisor who can help you with that and whether they are skilled at that. Those are separate questions to evaluate, but you have to think about that. So you have what's the payback period, what's the rate of return you get, and then inflation. Now, you have a few quality of life things to consider. So one of those things is life expectancy and health. I already kind of alluded to this, but the longer you live, the the greater reward you get from having a guaranteed income rather than having a pool of assets that you need to manage yourself. Because the longer you live, you get insurance, quote unquote, by having this guaranteed income that your employer will produce for you. So life expectancy can be a factor. Other things that you need to consider here are when you have a pension, sometimes your employer will allow you to stay on the pension, stay on your employer benefits package, meaning you might still get health insurance or life insurance or other forms of employee benefits, and they get deducted directly from the pension income as long as you keep the pension. Now, if you get the lump sum buyout, you lose access to that. So you actually have to do the math and calculate the value of those employee benefits that you get and what the comparable cost would be on the open market if you were to take the lump sum buyout and need to now pay for your health insurance or your life insurance yourself. Again, these are case-by-case individual concerns, and that is why this modeling needs to be done. You can't do it at a high level like I've done. You actually have to go case-by-case and evaluate each person's income needs, what they'd be giving up if they were to take a lump sum versus a monthly income benefit, what kinds of employee benefits they get to continue with, if at all. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have comments, questions, or you want to go and you want to see more detailed evaluation, I'm happy to make a future video about that. Or if you are in this decision fork right now and you are looking for some advice, you can reach out to my firm, Peak Financial Planning, through the sign-up form or the free scheduling form at the bottom of this video. You can also go to our website, thepeakfp.com, and you can read more about us and the work we've done and the clients we've worked with. Last but not least, my firm offers a free webinar that is called the Navigating the Retirement Risk Zone. And it shows the 8 primary behavioral decisions and actions that any pre-retiree can take and should take to gain control of their financial future. It covers things like Roth conversions, Social Security claiming decisions, pensions or annuities, but also cash flow decisions, investment construction decisions. And it's a long video that will go into depth on each of these topics. So if you are facing that critical juncture, you're within 10 years of retiring and you want to start to craft a plan together, I highly recommend watching that video, Navigating the Retirement Risk Zone. Again, I'll link to that below the video. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a subscribe. You'll see future videos from us pop up in your feed, and we'll continue to answer questions that relate to those of you navigating the retirement risk zone. Thank you for your time and attention, and we'll look forward to seeing any comments or questions you may have. Thank you.